Hi and welcome back again. In this video, we're going to learn some Greek vocabulary to talk about various places around the Mediterranean and the people who lived there. There are a few general terms for places or for space that are good for us to look at first. The general term for place or location is topos, and this is the source of the English word topography, as in a topographical map. Topos. Hege is the land or earth. And this is the source of the G part in the English word geography. Polis is a city or town. And if you remember from the video on third declension stem changes, this is a third declension noun with an unusual genitive form, poleos. Hodos is a road or way. This is a rare second declension feminine noun. We have the feminine definite article, he, but if you notice we have the os ending that we're used to seeing on second declension masculine nouns. So hodos will be declined with all of those second declension endings as if it were masculine, but since it's actually feminine in gender, it'll use feminine definite articles, and when adjectives and pronouns agree with it, they'll treat it as if it's feminine. Ta ethnos is the source of our English word ethnic, and it's a term for a people or an ethnic group or a nation, but not in the sense of a nation state, a political organization, rather in the sense of an ethnic nation. This again is a third declension noun, and its genitive is ethnous rather than ethnos, since the nominative form is already ta ethnos. This is another noun of the genos type, where we get os in the neuter nominative singular, and so rather than repeat os in the genitive ending ends up lengthening to us. Ta ethnos, tu ethnous. People. Another word for a people or a nation is holaos. There's less emphasis here on ethnic identity and maybe a bit more emphasis on political or community identity, but ethnos and laos are largely synonymous. Ta genos, on the other hand, means first and foremost a family or species, and in that sense an ethnic group. The focus is on being related, sharing a common origin, and this again is another third declension noun which gives its name to the genos type, and so the genitive is genus. The word for Greece is Hellas, which doesn't look at all like our English word Greece, but it's the source of our English word Hellenistic. Hellas is also a third declension noun, and it's of the pais type that has a hidden consonant that reappears once the sigma of the nominative case is taken off. So the genitive is Helados, and the real stem of Hellas is Helad. Similarly, Hellene is a Greek person, and the genitive of this third declension noun is Hellenos. So this is one of the easy ones, where Hellene, the nominative form, is exactly the same as the real stem, and all we have to do is add the genitive ending onto that. You'll notice too that Hellene can also be Hellene, and we have the same form for both masculine and feminine, for both a male Greek person and a female Greek person. Likewise, Hellenikos or Hellenike can be a Greek person. Again, Hellenikos being the masculine form, and he Hellenike being the feminine. He Rome is Rome, and we see here an example of a rough breathing mark over an initial row. If he Rome is the city, then a Roman is ha Romaios, or he Romaia. And Romans, particularly Roman men, were fairly easily recognizable if they were at all well-to-do, because they tended to wear the typical Roman garment, the toga. Greeks did wear a tunic with some sort of cloak wrapped around them, but the Greek cloak wasn't nearly as voluminous or complicated a garment as the toga. And Greek cloaks were very often colored, where the toga was almost always white. So here we see an example of a Roman man wearing a toga. Judea is Judea, and in Greek, Judaios or Judea are a Jew or a Judean. And there's an ongoing debate about exactly how these terms should be translated. Judaios is, of course, an adjective which is being used substantively in both of these terms, Judaios and Judaia. And the question is, does this adjective refer to a geographic identity, somebody from Judea, or does it refer primarily to a religious and ethnic identity, somebody who is culturally Jewish? I think to a certain extent the debate here is a modern issue, because geography and culture were so much more tightly bound together in the ancient world. And so I'll tend to translate this Jew or Jewish, but if you translate it Judean, that's fine too. One region, of course, that figures heavily in the New Testament is He Galilee, or Galilee. Parthia was another area neighboring the Roman Empire, with which Rome was basically constantly at war through the latter part of the imperial period. He Parthia is the Greek term for the region, Parthia, and a Parthian person is ha Parthis. This is a third declension noun, and again this is of the pais type, with a hidden consonant, a delta that reappears in the true stem, and so the genitive is parthidos. We also have, like Hellenikos and Hellenike, we have hoparthikos and heparthike, two more terms that mean Parthian. One of the distinctive aspects of Parthians was their dress. You can see here that unlike Greeks and Romans, Parthians tended to wear very short tunics with leggings underneath and very short capes. And maybe the most distinctive thing about first century Parthian clothing was their tendency to wear baggy over-trousers that hung loosely down below the edge of their tunics. If Parthians would have seemed somewhat exotic and dangerous to Greeks and Romans in the first century, even more so were the Scythians. Toskuthikon is the Greek term for the region Scythia, and a Scythian would be Hoskuthikos or Heskuthike. Scythians were also known for their distinctive dress. They were semi-nomadic horsemen who wore long hair and beards at a time when the Mediterranean peoples were consistently clean-shaven. They also, like the Parthians, tended to wear quite short cloaks and tunics, along with leggings, although they didn't seem to wear the baggy over-leggings that were typical of Parthians. And as you can see in this picture, the Scythian horsemen were renowned bowmen. Egypt is He Aegyptos, and with a masculine article, Aegyptos means the Nile River specifically, but with the feminine article, Aegyptos is the country, Egypt. Aegyptios, Aegyptiae, Aegyption, is the adjective Egyptian. And we see here on at the right one of the famous Fayum mummy portraits from Roman period Egypt. And the beautifully realistic portraits remind us that in this period, Egypt was heavily Hellenized, heavily Romanized, and remained in the first century a cultural center for the Greco-Roman world. Jerusalem and Judea came within the Roman Empire in the region of Syria, the province of Syria. And so when we think of Syrian cities, we can think of He Hierosoluma, Jerusalem. This is declined just like a regular first declension noun. And it gives rise to the adjectives Hierosolumos or Hierosoluma, Jerusalemite, or Ha Hierosolumites, another way of saying Jerusalemite. But Hierosoluma wasn't the only transliteration of Jerusalem in the first century. We also, in the New Testament, see the transliteration Jerusalem. Hierosoluma really is a more serious attempt to translate Jerusalem into a Greek noun, where Jerusalem is really just a transliteration of the Hebrew or Aramaic pronunciation. As a result, He Jerusalem is indeclinable. That means it doesn't take different forms in different cases, where Hierosoluma does. Another important Syrian city for the New Testament is He Antiochia, or Antioch. Someone who is from Antioch is Ha Antiochus, or He Antiochus, and that could be translated an Antiochene or an Antiochian. This again is a third declension genitive, or a third declension form of the Hiereus type, and the genitive is Antiocheos. Finally, a couple of Greek cities figure prominently in the New Testament. One is He Corinthos, or Corinth. This is feminine in gender, although it takes second declension forms, much like He Hodos. The adjectives for a Corinthian would be Ha Corinthios, or He Corinthia. Another important city, particularly for Paul's mission, was He Ephesos, or Ephesus. But notice that instead of the US ending at the end, we have the typical OS, or Omicron Sigma, ending of a second declension noun. Again, He Ephesos is feminine in gender, but takes second declension forms. And this was not uncommon for city names. Ha Ephesios means a male Ephesian, and He Ephesia means a female Ephesian. And in this image at the right-hand side, we see the surviving front of the famous library in Corinth. And to the right of that, we see just the one side of the arched, magnificent entryway into the agora, the marketplace of Ephesus.